Causative verbs are like the directors of the verb world. They are the orchestrators, the ones who set things in motion. Just as a movie director instructs actors on how to perform their roles, causative verbs direct other verbs to carry out actions. They express the idea of causing or making something happen. Think of a chain reaction, where one action leads to another. Causative verbs are the initial push that sets everything into motion. Instead of performing the action themselves, they show that someone, or something, is causing another person or thing to perform the action. For instance, a manager might delegate tasks to employees, or a conductor might lead an orchestra without playing an instrument themselves. Imagine a director telling an actor what to do. That's what causative verbs do. They are the behind-the-scenes force that makes things happen. These verbs are essential for expressing a wide range of situations where we influence or arrange for actions to occur. Whether it's a teacher helping a student with homework or a coach instructing an athlete, causative verbs are at play. Whether it's making someone laugh, having a house cleaned, or organizing an event, causative verbs are the tools we use to describe these actions. Or getting a car repaired, causative verbs help us convey the idea that we are responsible for these actions, even if we are not performing them ourselves. Causative verbs help us describe these scenarios effectively. They allow us to communicate complex ideas in a simple and clear manner. Some common causative verbs include make, which implies forcing or requiring someone to do something, have, which suggests arranging for someone to do something, and get, which indicates persuading or convincing someone to take action. Each of these verbs has its own specific way of expressing causation, adding subtle nuances to the meaning of the sentence. By understanding and using causative verbs, we can become more effective communicators, able to convey our intentions and influence others with precision. Make is the most direct and forceful of the causative verbs. It implies that someone is compelled or forced to do something. For example, if you say, "The teacher made the students study for the test," it means the students had no choice but to study. The teacher exerted their authority to ensure the students would be prepared. Make is often used to describe situations where there is a sense of obligation or pressure. The person performing the action may not want to do it, but they are obliged to comply with the wishes of the person who is making them do it. Have is a more neutral causative verb compared to make. It implies that someone arranges for something to be done by someone else. For instance, "I had my hair cut" signifies that you didn't cut your own hair. Instead, you arranged for a hairdresser to do it for you. Have is commonly used when talking about services, like getting your car repaired, house cleaned, or clothes tailored. It suggests a more voluntary arrangement compared to the forceful nature of make. The causative verb have can be used in both active and passive voice, slightly changing the sentence structure while retaining the core meaning. This flexibility allows for a variety of ways to express the same idea depending on what you want to emphasize in your sentence. In the active voice, the sentence structure is subject plus have plus object plus past participle. This means that the subject is the one who causes the action to be done, but not necessarily the one who performs the action. For example, "She had her car washed." In this sentence, she is the subject who arranged for the car to be washed, but she did not wash the car herself. Here, she is the subject, had is the causative verb, her car is the object, and washed is the past participle. This structure clearly indicates that the action was performed by someone else, but it was arranged by the subject. In the passive voice, the object of the active sentence becomes the subject. This shift changes the focus of the sentence, often emphasizing the action or the recipient of the action rather than the doer. The structure changes to object plus have, get plus past participle plus, by plus agent. This means that the object of the active sentence is now the subject of the passive sentence, and the original subject can be included as the agent, but it is often optional. For example, "Her car was had washed by her." In this passive construction, her car is now the subject, and the phrase "by her" indicates who arranged for the washing, though it can be omitted if the context is clear. Here, her car becomes the subject, and the agent, by her, is optional. This passive structure is useful when the focus is on the action or the object, rather than the person who arranged it. Understanding how to use the causative verb have in both active and passive voice can greatly enhance your ability to construct varied and nuanced sentences. Section 5. Get persuasion and arrangements. Get is a more indirect causative verb, often implying persuasion or convincing someone to do something. For example, I got my friend to help me with my homework suggests that you persuaded your friend to assist you. It wasn't a forced situation like with make, nor a simple arrangement like with have. You actively sought your friend's help and convinced them to participate. Get can also be used for arranging things to happen similar to have, but with a greater emphasis on the effort involved in making the arrangements. Section 6. Get, active and passive voice. In this section, we will delve into the versatile use of the verb get in both active and passive voice constructions. Understanding this can greatly enhance your ability to form varied and dynamic sentences in English. Similar to the verb have, get can also be used in both active and passive voice, offering flexibility in sentence construction. This dual functionality allows speakers and writers to emphasize different parts of a sentence depending on what they want to highlight. Let's start with the active voice. In the active voice, the structure is subject plus get plus object plus to infinitive. This means that the subject is performing the action, and the focus is on who is doing what. For example, consider the sentence, he got his brother to lend him some money. In this sentence, he is the subject who is causing the action to happen. Here, he is the subject. Got is the causative verb, his brother is the object, and to lend is the to infinitive. This structure clearly shows who is doing what and to whom. Now let's move on to the passive voice. In the passive voice, the structure becomes object, plus get plus past participle plus by plus agent. This shifts the focus from who is performing the action to what is being acted upon. For example, his bicycle got stolen by someone. In this sentence, the focus is on the bicycle and the fact that it was stolen, rather than on who stole it. Here, his bicycle is the subject, and the agent, by someone, is optional. This structure is particularly useful when the doer of the action is unknown or unimportant. By mastering both active and passive voice constructions with get, you can add variety and depth to your English sentences. Section 7. Summary causative verbs in a nutshell. Causative verbs, like skilled directors, orchestrate actions performed by others. Make compels, have delegates, and get persuades or arranges. Mastering these verbs empowers you to express a spectrum of causation scenarios effectively. Remember the subtle differences in meaning and usage between these verbs. Make implies force, have suggests arrangement, and get involves persuasion or effort. Section 8. Practice makes perfect. The key to mastering causative verbs is practice. Try constructing your own sentences using make, have, and get in different contexts. Pay attention to the subtle nuances each verb brings to the meaning. With consistent practice, you'll soon be using causative verbs like a pro, effortlessly expressing causation in your everyday English conversations and writing.